Hey everybody, this is Christy with Betty Chic Boutique, and I am a part-time Poshmark reseller. You can find my Poshmark closet at Betty Chic 1116. If you're on Instagram, you can also find me there at Betty Chic Boutique. And if you like this video on your way out, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up, or better yet, if you click the subscribe button, you will be notified every time I put out a new video. So today's topic is just how do we maintain our reseller sanity? Because there are some things that are, I think, can be specific to Posh, but I think overall just selling online that can create a lot of angst and anxiety for sellers. And how we end up reacting to these things are completely within our control. And if we kind of have a mindset going into how we're going to handle all of these things, I think that we can really work on, maintaining our sanity, especially this time of year. So when I'm filming this right now, it's December of 2019. It is the busy holiday season. There are lots of other things that are probably going on that are creating stress and chaos for you. And so let's take the stress and chaos out of our Poshmark and our reselling business. So I've got 5 tips for you today in how we can maintain our reseller sanity. I am part of a lot of different Facebook groups that are all about Poshmark. I watch a lot of YouTube videos from different people who sell on Poshmark, full-time sellers, part-time sellers, and there are some common things that I hear people talking about, or I see people talking about, that for myself, I've kind of created some guidelines to think about them to be able to help me not feel like I'm always comparing myself to other sellers, that I am really doing what is best for me and my business. And hopefully hearing some of these tips are going to help you too. Now this is the 3rd time that I am trying to record this video, so I'm hoping that 3rd time's a charm and actually making it all the way through and not having my camera turn off on me like it's done the last 2 times. Like, that's frustrating. That causes stress. I'm just trying to share some information with the world. Help me out, computer. Let's start out with number 1. So number 1 is just you don't need it all right away. And this goes back to, I think, comparing ourselves to what other people are doing and how other people are ultimately running their Poshmark business and selling their items. So you don't need to have a mannequin right away. You probably don't need to have a mannequin ever. You could do flat lays, or you can hang things on hangers on a wall. You don't need to have the fancy thermal printer. You don't need to have fancy photo editing software or a fancy camera. There's really just some key things you need to be able to get started. And then you can decide, once you've made some money, where you feel like investing that back into your business to just kind of take your game to the next level. I didn't start out with any of those things. I really just had, inventory that I had gotten from my own closets. I paid attention to what people were talking about in terms of thrifting. I watched YouTube videos before I felt comfortable going out and starting to do sourcing, because I made mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes when I first started going out and buying things to put into inventory. So start out with your own closet. Start out with the things that you liked, that you no longer wear, you no longer use. You know a lot about those items. You know about the fit. You can do really great descriptions. Like, really just get comfortable with being able to do those things using inventory that you have accumulated from your own closet. But really, so inventory, you need things to sell. So that's, kind of a no-brainer. That's key. You need a way to be able to take pictures. And pretty much, I think everybody has a phone. So I do all of my pictures on my phone. I think a lot of people, probably most people, do. You don't need necessarily fancy lighting kits or special backgrounds or anything like that, as long as you can do clean pictures that show the details of the item. You take, pictures of the size, you take pictures of the fabric tags, and the front and the back. Like, keep it basic. You just need to be able to take some good quality pictures. You can edit on the camera app that comes with your phone. You don't need any fancy software to do editing or anything like that. And when it comes to shipping your items when you're starting out, and even now, for me, you can use the free boxes and envelopes that are provided from the post office. So you don't need to be spending money on fancy polymer mailers or anything like that unless you want to down the road. So it's really, again, about what makes sense for you and how you run your business. I have just recently, it was just in October, that I got this light ring that is helping me light up my office space right now, because it's 10:30 at night, so of course it's dark and I don't have overhead lighting in this room. But I actually just got that, a year into selling. And speaking of that, I'm getting ready to hit a major sales milestone for myself. I'm about $40 away from hitting the $10,000 sales on Poshmark, which is crazy to me. It's something I didn't even really think was possible when I first started doing this, and now that's very exciting. And this is the point where I'm thinking about things like I upgraded my thermal printer. I looked on Facebook Marketplace groups to be able to find things like, my first thermal printer. It was a Dymo 4XL, which a lot of people use, I know, who sell online. And I found it, for a really good deal, someone locally who was selling it. When I first got a mannequin, I went to a store liquidator place that was local where they sell to the public. Ironically, I don't use the mannequin as much as I thought that I would, because it's easier, quicker, faster for me to either do flat lays, or I have a new way of doing it even now since I moved into my new office space a week ago. So you don't need to have those things right away to be able to be successful, and definitely don't compare yourself against other sellers and what other sellers are doing. They might have more space, they might have more funds that they can do investing into their business and their inventory right away. So just keep it simple, build your business as you're making money. I think that's a way better way to do it than going into debt right away to be able to start your business and then, feel like you gotta dig your way out of that. So make money and then spend money back into the business at that point. So number one, you don't need it all right away. The second thing is, don't sweat the small stuff. And I am talking specifically about feedback. I think it's just human nature that if we are not getting a 5-star review, if we're not getting a glowing love note on Poshmark, we take it personally and we immediately get, upset about it. And I see this kind of across the board, where I work in my corporate job, people don't really like hearing feedback that is anything that's critical. It's just, we take it very, very personally, and it upsets us, and it creates an emotional kind of like, people don't like me kind of reaction. And buyer feedback on what you're selling is subjective. That person, you don't know that person's story, you don't know what kind of day they're having. As long as you know that you sent out a great quality item that is as described in the listing, and you fulfilled it in a timely manner, if they have, problems with that where they rate you later lower than what you would like, you just have to kind of step away from that. If there's something that's valid in what they say, absolutely, take that bit of advice to be able to, do that thing differently. But at the end of the day, if someone, I see people talking about they got lower ratings because a buyer, they didn't include a personal thank you note in the package, even though the item was exactly as described, and the buyer decided to knock them off, knock a star off because they didn't leave a personalized thank you note in their package. There are buyers like that out there. I have sold at this point in time almost 780 items. I have gotten feedback on about 500 of them. I have a 4.9 rating in terms of my sales. And I know I still get, those 3 or 4 stars and kind of go, but then I leave it, because I have had far more people who've either been happy, rated me 5 stars, or people who don't leave any feedback at all, who I assume that they are fine with their purchase. So I look at the fact that I have the vast majority giving me positive feedback. The ones who don't, I can't spend a lot of time putting, thought or energy into that, especially if I'm not getting any specific feedback about it. And this is why I wanted to share with you too. Like, this is what I do in terms of the packages that I sell. So I sold this cute little Bowden dress today. You can see I put a post-it. I love my post-it notes. Like, I have a special place in my heart for post-it notes. I do a post-it note that I write, I hope you love it. If it's a pair of jeans or something like that, I hope you love them. A little heart, little smiley face, my initial. I have 2 stickers here. One that says, thank you for supporting my small business. And then I have these cute little stickers that I picked up at Posh Fest that says, stay posh. This is going to go into, I only have left. This is one of the things that I did when I first started out, because I thought everybody did this. I thought everybody did these cute little polymer mailers. So I got my larger one with my flamingos on it. I've got my smaller ones with the little flowers on it. But as soon as these are gone, guys, I'm going just straight up with the envelopes from the Postal Service, because this is extra money that I'm spending that I could be spending on inventory. Going back to tip number 1, this is all I do in terms of my shipping, and I have never gotten a complaint in terms of my packaging. I never gotten any complaints about it. So I think that it works. It's easy. It doesn't cause me a lot of stress. It doesn't take a lot of time to write, a really quick little note like that and stick it on there and then stick it in the mailer and off we go. So in terms of feedback, take the things that are valid, leave everything else, move on, because you have a lot of different other things that you can do for your Poshmark business that ultimately will help you sell more items. And, that feedback, it ultimately is just for you. Other people aren't necessarily seeing these love notes, so don't sweat the small stuff. Leads me into this, the third point, which is just thinking about customer service in general. And there's 2 different components to it. The first one is around questions. I try to include as many details as possible in my listing, including measurements. I talked about this in my last video when I talking about listing, that I include measurements on everything, but I don't include all measurements. I include 2 different measurements on all of my items with the exception of jeans, where I have 4 measurements. Other than that, unless a buyer asks, those are the only measurements that I'm doing. And I've seen people comment that they have stopped answering questions because the people disappear and they never buy the item anyways. That's probably been, I would say that is 99% of my experience too. People ask me a question, I answer it, they ghost me, they disappear. And so there is, kind of this idea that, well, I'm not even going to bother answering questions because nobody's going to buy anything anyways. Then we have that 1%. And I had a person that falls into that 1% today. She asked me probably 6 questions about an item. I had provided measurements and everything like that, but she was clearly someone who had bought off Poshmark before. She knows that she can't return something because of fit. She said she loved this jacket that I had for sale. She had some questions about the material and kind of how it fit and flowed and things like that, which are kind of subjective things of me being able to respond, but I did my best. And then she asked for some additional measurements, like around the shoulders and things like that. She said, she has really broad shoulders. So her concern was really about, was it going to fit? And so I answered every single one of her questions, and she bought the item. And I cannot wait for her to get it because I hope she loves it. I know she was really, really excited about it. So that is an instance where I did take the time to do the questions, to answer all the questions, and I sold an item. So I think customer service in that aspect is really, really important. And so just have a policy. You're either going to not respond to questions or you are, but make that determination for your own business. Personally, I fall on the go ahead and answer them side of the house. And then I just feel like, again, I'm providing, a quality customer service experience. I'm trying to, I'm building my business, I'm building my brand, And I want someone to know that if they're going to be buying something from me, I will make every attempt to answer their questions. Sometimes I miss questions because I get so many notifications on my phone from Poshmark. If I'm not answering it, it's because I missed it. So that's just a policy that I established that I'm going to answer questions. That also leads into cases. So it is going to happen where you're going to have a case opened up against you for an item that you have sold to someone. And I think if you just determine how you're going to approach any item or anything when a case is opened, and you have a policy for yourself, for your business, it's going to take a lot of stress and emotional reaction out of it. I feel like many sellers spend a lot of energy responding to cases because they want to win. They want to win the case. If they lose, if somebody is a loser, no matter what, be it the buyer, somebody's losing if somebody is winning. And so I don't like that mentality at all. If someone, I know that the items that I'm selling to someone are good quality items. I've sourced them. I've looked at them. You know, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I do miss some things, you know, when I'm putting things up for sale. But I truly believe that my core products and everything that I'm selling are good quality products that deserve to be sold and go to a new home. I feel very confident in that. So if someone gets the item and they open a case against me for something, I will let Poshmark handle it. I don't even respond, except for some very special circumstances, and I'll give you an example of what that is. But my policy in general is that if someone opens a case against me, I'll let Poshmark handle it, and if the item comes back to me, that's fine. I will take back the item and I will resell it. Now, just a couple weeks ago, I had this gorgeous Coach purse that I picked up in the spring from my local clothes mentor. I picked it up for myself. It was this awesome orange color. Orange is my favorite color, and it was like this burnt orange kind of color, really more appropriate for fall, but I found it in the spring and I had to have it. So I bought it. I used it for a couple of months, and then it's been sitting just around my house ever since then. And I kind of, as I was going through and looking for things, as I was adding to my, my death pile and kind of, again, going back through things that I had in my own closet that I could sell, I was like, oh, I don't use that anymore, so I should probably go ahead and just get that listed. It sold within an hour. It was crazy. I had a whole bunch of likes, and then it sold. Bam. Sent it out the next day. It was to a person who was a first-time buyer on Poshmark. She received the item a couple of days later, and she opened a case against me for authenticity. That is something that I will respond on because I bought it from my local clothes mentor. I know the process that they go through to authenticate their purses. So it's not something like I picked up at a yard sale or something that I really wasn't, I thought that I was pretty sure it was authentic. It's something that I felt very comfortable, having been a longtime Coach purchaser myself, and then purchasing it from a consignment store, that they do have a process where they go through, they're trained on looking at authenticity of items. They will go so far as, with higher end items too, where they use the same type of authentication services that we have access to be able to authenticate something. So I felt very comfortable. It was an authentic Coach purse. That is the only thing that I actually responded to things on that case. The first being, if she wasn't happy with it, that's no problem. She can go ahead and send it back. I knew, given all of the likes and all of the demand that I saw on that purse when I first listed it, that I would have zero problem reselling it. So she wasn't happy with it. That's okay. She can go ahead and return it. But I did dispute the fact that it wasn't authentic because I bought it from a reputable source, and that is all I said. I bought this from a reputable source. I'm also a longtime Coach buyer. It's authentic. And she tried to argue with me about it because she was clearly very emotional about it. It was her first time purchasing on Poshmark. She was very disappointed. She was even gave some comments about how it was a really poor knockoff and all of these different things. She was quite emotional about it. I went back and I responded. What I responded again was simply, I'm really sorry that you don't feel like this was a good experience, Poshmark makes it very easy for you to return items. If you aren't happy, you can go ahead and return it to me. But again, I bought it from a reputable source and it is authentic. And when she responded again on that, I just said, I'm not going to be responding to any further comments about authenticity. Done. And I was going to let Poshmark handle it from there. A couple hours later, she posts again on the case, and I was like, oh my goodness, she's so upset about this purchase. And ironically, she clearly had been off doing more research on her own. She came across a cereal item that she had missed upon her first review of the purse. She found out where it had been manufactured in 2014. She apologized for questioning the authenticity. She was then very happy with her purchase and wanted to just, close the case. She was going to keep it. And great. At the end of the day, she and I both won. But as a rule of thumb, I don't respond to cases. I will let Poshmark handle it. And I'm not putting energy into this idea of having to win a case, because someone opening a case, we're all losing. I'll take the item back if it comes back, and I will resell it. So it's just my own policy that I have established for myself about how I will respond to cases and also how I will respond to customer service questions. Everybody should decide that for yourself so that when it happens, because it will happen, then you know exactly what you're going to do and you don't have to invest a lot of energy into thinking about how am I going to respond to it. Cases and questions, they both have an emotional component to it. And I just want to do what I can to provide a good quality customer service experience. So customer service, that's number 3, and establishing what your policies are around that. The fourth one, so there's this motto in the writing community, and I've been a fiction writer for my entire life. I actually am a self-published author. I did that as a side hustle for quite a while before I turned my attention to this idea of reselling online. And there is this saying, it's called "kill your darlings." And it's really around thinking about things that you have an emotional connection to, like your characters when you're writing characters. And sometimes in order to really kind of like get things moving, creating momentum, moving things forward, you need to, kill these characters that you are emotionally invested in. And I think that we get invested in some of the items or all of the items that we end up listing in our closet. Of course, we want to sell them and we want to sell them for a profit. And so when folks come in and they offer us something that we feel like is less than what we should be getting for the item, there again is kind of this emotional reaction to it, especially if it's something like you listed something for $100 and somebody offers you $10. Yep, that happens. I laugh about that, quite honestly. I laugh, I chuckle, and then I think, well, they probably do this because there are some sellers who will just go ahead and accept the offer and give it to them for $10, which is crazy. But I do view it as an opportunity to start, it starts a negotiation. To me, this is somebody who's kind of throwing their hat in the ring and saying, hey, I want to negotiate with you on this item. Everything that I sell, I know what the bottom dollar is that I am willing to take on an item. And I go back when I get offers, especially when they are lower than what I'm initially thinking that I want to sell it for, and I'll go back and I'll look at my inventory sheet and I'll see how much I paid for the item. Because there are people out there who want, quality items, who are on a budget, and so, they know exactly how much they can spend. And I know how low I'm willing to go. And as long as I know how low I'm willing to go, I'm ultimately the one who is in control of that transaction. I don't have to sell it for less than what I want to. It's my item and I can do that. But I have to try and take the emotional component out of it. Case in point, I mentioned before that I have been going and sourcing in my own closet recently. There was this beautiful emerald green blazer that I bought from the Limited probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I just love this jacket. It's actually, looking at my LinkedIn profile right now, my LinkedIn picture, I'm wearing that jacket. I love that jacket. It just really doesn't fit kind of my style today. But still, I have this emotional connection to this jacket, and it's something that's been in my closet. I mean, I can just make money on it at this point in time. And so I listed it because I probably bought it for like $125 6 years ago. I listed it for $30 because I added that little bit of cushion to be able to make offers. And I had somebody pretty quick, like within a day or two, offer me $15 for it. And my first reaction was, no way, it's worth more than $15. So I countered at $25. She went up to $16. And I just dug my feet in, nope, $25 is how much I think this is worth and how much I can sell it for. So I countered at 25 still, and she declined it. And then she came back a couple hours later, and she offered me $18 for it. So clearly this is somebody who wanted that item. I mean, she declined my offer, and then she came back, and she offered a little bit more. And then I started thinking about what this other person on the other end could be thinking. Clearly, she liked it, and she wanted it. And what if this is somebody that, is looking for some workwear, is on a budget, and she can only spend a certain amount of money. And this is something that's been sitting in my closet. I haven't worn it in like 3 years. I haven't sourced it recently. It's at this point in time pure profit for me. And I'm digging my heels in on it because I have this emotional reaction to it. Or I can take the money and run. And so I reframed how I was thinking about it. I took her $18 offer and I sent it off. And actually, I kind of felt like there's a little bit of weight off my shoulders about it. So when you're thinking about things that you have an emotional reaction to, or just receiving offers that are in general lower than what you want them to be, really kind of have a sense of, what your floor is. Again, going back to data and just taking the emotion out of it. What's the floor that you would accept on an item? And I know even if it's something that is, you're as low as you can go and somebody makes you a lower offer and maybe you're only making a couple bucks. If you have the ability to source at the Goodwill bins, you know that you can get, if you get 2 or 3 items for a couple bucks. So you can be reinvesting that money back in your business, and perhaps that's a staler item in any case, and you're putting 3 new fresh items into your closet. So you just have to think about, again, what's the floor? What are you willing to accept? Take emotion out of it. And the last thing is, tip number 5. If it's not working, do something different. This game is so interesting, and I do kind of consider it a game because we talk about sales strategies. We talk about doing, different things to be able to create momentum, to be able to make sales. And I have to say, I did my 100-item listing challenge, and that was a lot of fun. Had data off of that. I started selling on eBay. I sold my first item on eBay this week. It's very exciting for me. I created some new office space for myself, which creates mental headspace for myself. And as I'm doing all of these things over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, I wasn't selling that much. I think I only sold like maybe 3 items over the course of that 4 days. And man, that didn't feel great. I'm doing all of these things again where I have these peaks and these valleys. And if I just kind of let myself get into my own head and kept doing the same things over and over and over again, I think that I probably would go crazy. I mean, that's the definition of insanity, to continue doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting, a different result. And so I wanted to throw something different into the mix, or at least just do something different from a mental standpoint. And so I went sourcing. I told myself I wasn't going to do that until I cleared all the things that are left here in my death pile. And I needed to do something different. I needed to get myself into a different headspace. So I went sourcing at the Goodwill bins. And I took my time. I did my standard, I was there for about 45 minutes. I filled up a cart. There were a bunch of things that I'm super excited about. I'm going to do a haul video on this probably tomorrow, if I can find the time. And that just kind of put me in a happier place. And I also accepted some offers that were lower than what I wanted. I'm still making a profit. But once I accepted some offers and just started getting some momentum going, you know, again, like things have started to swing upward again. I had 6 sales today. I had like 5 sales yesterday. It's just doing some things that shift your mindset and doing something different, not continuing to do the same thing each and every day, I think can really help you as you go through these peaks and valleys, and also continue to give you more data about how you might do things differently, the next time you hit one of these kind of valleys that really can start kind of messing with your head and making you think that maybe this Poshmark thing isn't for you, and you need to get out, or whatever that may be. Just take a step back and kind of take a breath and do one thing differently, and maybe do something really extreme. Like I said, I wasn't selling anything, so what did I do? I went out and I spent some money. I did some sourcing, but it put me in a different mindset, made me happy, because I know I've got a bunch of new things to list that are really exciting. Put me in the right mindset, and then accepted some lower than I normally would accept offers just to get momentum going, and I feel like that put me on the upswing yet again. So I hope this was helpful. Again, just to do a quick review, the 5 tips for keeping your reseller sanity. You don't need it all right away. Don't sweat the small stuff in terms of your feedback. Think about how you are going to handle things from a customer service perspective. So when these things do come up, you don't have to think about, you're not going to react emotionally. You're going to know exactly what you're going to do, and that takes all of that, kind of those pieces of stress and anxiety out of it. Kill your darlings. Think about how you're going to accept offers, how you get staler inventory out of your closet. Just really have a different mindset in terms of your emotional attachment to items. And the last thing is, if it's not working, do something different. Do something different to push yourself out of that mindset, and hopefully give you a more positive perspective that's going to take you back onto the upswing. Again, hope this was helpful. My name is Christy. I'm a part-time Poshmark reseller. You can find my closet again at BettyChic1116 over on Poshmark. You can find me on Instagram at Betty Chic Boutique. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up. And better yet, click the subscribe button so you get notified every time I have a video in the future. I hope you all have a great weekend, a great day, and I will talk to you all again soon. Bye.